The Metroid games are known for their dark atmosphere. Not quite survival horror, but the feeling of solitude and emptiness is there. The world of Metroid games are ripe with various alien species that have evolved for the sole purpose of killing, taking over, and expanding their power. So here's the top 10 most terrifying monsters in the Metroid series. Also, I'm going to do something a little different in this video. This is a top 10, but it's not necessarily in order. It's in an order that I like. However, if you disagree with my number 1 choice, let me know what you think the number 1 most terrifying monster of them all is. Metroid Zero Mission is a remake of the original Metroid. As so, it follows the same plot. It's accepted that this game replaces the first in canon lore, as it was designed to retell the story of Samus Aran's original mission. There are a number of differences, however. One addition is the enemy GIRU, which are Imago Lava. There are 3 of these in the game. The first 2 are found roaming around. These lava can be damaged by either shooting through the ceiling with a wave beam, or planting bombs in their path, taking advantage of the weak underbelly of the creature. The nightmare fuel begins with the last one you find, which has gotten itself caught by some parasitic tangle vines. Before this fight, you can see many creatures ensnared by these vines, showing how morbidly dangerous they are. As it's permanently curled up, you can't take advantage of its weak underbelly to perhaps put it out of its misery, so you have to free the creature. There's a winged ripper in the room, so Samus has to freeze it and use it as a platform to shoot the vines whilst dodging spores. If you don't save it, it'll simply stay there, its life slowly being sucked as it struggles until its final breath. Deep in Sector 3 hides a monster most foul. Its appearance is described as fish-like. However, don't let that fool you on how terrifying this thing is. It's only fish-like in the loosest of terms. After being instructed by Adam to follow a purple monster in Metroid Other M, you enter the main tunnels of the pyrosphere. The area you enter is mostly pools of lava, seemingly safe, besides the heated pools of death. However, this soon changes when you spot a large monster burst out of one of the pools. This creature is the Vorash, and it's not friendly. If you don't evade its initial entrance, it's an instant game over as the monster devours you. And that's just this introduction. Its appearance appears prehistoric in nature, looking like it's evolved on top of its food chain, with details specifically designed to kill. Its mouth is huge, even its teeth are sizable compared to Samus. Its eyes are a bunch of gelled globs cobbled together in an uncanny way on the top of its head. This monster plagues you as you make your way across this treacherous environment, which is terrifying in itself. However, one detail to me stands out to why this thing should be especially feared. Lava is one of the most volatile and dangerous elements you can be exposed to, and this thing lives in the stuff. If it casually lives in such a tempered lifestyle, how would you hope to defeat it with your normal weapons? And it's true, its skin is impervious to your normal attacks. The only way to damage it is by its softer eyes and the inside of its mouth. But try hit that, when that's also where it wants you to end up. The King Worm, also known as Beam Beast or Dioramu, is one of the early bosses Samus faces in Metroid Zero Mission. The King Worm's appearance is, as you'd expect with a creature of that name, it's a worm of biblical proportion. It starts off descending, blocking your path, before ascending on the opposite side, trapping Samus. It attacks, shaking its hard carapace, which lets loose spikes from its shell, along with a swooping attack with its head, which is equipped with giant, sharp mandibles. This fight is terrifying due to how helpless you can feel when trapped between its segmented body. The only way to damage it is to shoot missiles into its eye. However, to do that, you have to stand directly underneath its attack space, putting yourself in the line of fire. The Space Pirates are a feared organization in the galaxy, being the main reason the Galactic Federation was formed in order to combat this menace. They started off attacking and raiding other ships. However, as their empire expanded, so did their goals, prompting them to start taking over planets, capturing the natives as slaves. This organization has been responsible for some of the most disastrous events in the galactic history, and this is in no small part to the higher ranking creatures that fight under this banner. One in particular that should be feared is Ridley. This higher ranking space pirate has been plaguing Samus for nearly her entire bounty hunting career. Ridley has had many forms over his time, such as Neo Ridley, which is an X-parasite mimicking a clone of Ridley, or Meta Ridley, which is Ridley himself reborn cybernetically enhanced through space pirate technology. I guess they just couldn't let go. However, one to me stands out as the most terrifying of all, Omega Ridley. Yeah, you know that Meta Ridley? Imagine infusing it with Phazon, adding a terrible, corrupting parasitic essence to an enhanced form of a terrifying general of the space pirates. It's overkill. The Phazon added Phazon enhanced armor skin and additional armor plating. The only weakness you can exploit is an injury he sustains that hasn't fully healed yet. I mean, can you imagine fighting this thing if it didn't have that injury? Phase is a living planet. Let's just let that sink in. A planet that's alive. Something this big can't be easy to destroy, and I doubt it ever will. However, not only is it alive, but it's parasitic in nature, sending out infectious spores to forcibly take over other planets to spread Phazon. And that's my choice for this list. Not just a planet, but its spores, also known as Leviathans. The Leviathans are gigantic, living meteors shot off from the host in order to spread Phazon. This is known to happen once a century and can devastate worlds. These behemoth-sized things are not only difficult to destroy, but also have the added ability to create wormholes, allowing them to travel anywhere throughout space, making these things a considerable threat. You won't know where, you won't know when, but if you don't monitor the phase, it has a chance to hastily destroy a planet and all its inhabitants, before you have a chance to fight back. Once a Leviathan makes impact with a planet, the raining debris and spread from the inside is what causes the infection on the planet. The impact strength varies and has been known to leave bearing scars on a planet's surface. Not only does it affect the planet, but also the inhabitants of the world, often corrupting them into slaves to serve its higher purpose. The space pirates are feared across the galaxy. This much is known. Their name is used to give caution to space travelers, and for a lot of species, it's the last thing they know of before they're enslaved. Other than the main generals of this group, such as Ridley or Kraid, there have to be strong, numerous troops that have to be able to fight. Above all the grunts, there are the elite pirates that are Phazon-enhanced space pirates. These can be devastating, especially in number, however, are manageable. But the elite pirate isn't my choice for this list. There's one stage above this which should be feared. It's called the Omega Pirate. These enhanced elite pirates are further experiments fused with Phazon reserves, and are way more dangerous. They have little weakness, and can generate wave quakes. They are also equipped with dual plasma cannons, all other elites only carry one, and can even turn invisible. On top of this, they even have accelerated healing. For the most part, your weaponry is useless against this thing. Its only downfall is its lapse in defense when it's using other abilities such as cloaking. This is not a monster to take lightly, and you want to avoid it at all costs. Chozo statues in the Metroid games are statues made by, well, the Chozo. The Chozo were an ancient and highly advanced race of bird-like sentients that inhabited several planets of the cosmos. You come to appreciate these statues due to their helpful presence, often offering upgrades for Samus's power suit. Early in the game, Samus brings one of these statues to life called the Bomb TORIZO, which in turn attacks her. However, its sluggish and obsolete methods render it not much of a threat, and it's easily dealt with. Later in the game, Samus comes across another statue, different in colour. When this statue becomes sentient, it is quickly apparent that it is harder, bigger, faster, and stronger, and isn't easily felled like the previous encounter. This is the Golden TORIZO. The juttering movements of a mechanical monster approaching you on a 2D plane is terrifying, as you can't easily swing around it. It also adds a sense of dread as you wonder how much damage this metal warrior can take. It doesn't help that if you shoot a super missile at it, one of your stronger attacks at this point, it can grab them out of the air and throw them back, rendering that style of attack obsolete. It's not long at all until that sense of ease you initially feel from the easier encounter at the start of the game quickly leaves you in this fight. Mother Brain is a staple in the Metroid series. It is one of, if not the most recognisable Metroid villain. She has had many forms in her time, starting off as a brain which resembles a human's, just freakishly big, to having said brain grafted onto a terrifying sinew body. Her scalp often has one central eye, which is coloured differently depending on the game. In Super Metroid, we first see her using a mechanical body, appearing to be made from Chozo technology. Dribbling mouth with malice, all-staring eye, this design is terrifying. Her grandeur commands fear when first encountering this boss. However, this isn't my selection for this list. In Metroid Other M, we see a terrifying throwback to Super Metroid's Mother Brain, now in 3D. You can inspect the more gruesome detail, all from an upward angle as her size is much larger, and the way she looks at you, truly nightmare fuel. This creature's birth was the death of another. Peace on Aether was lost the moment these creatures were set loose. Referenced by space pirates as Shadowling, the terrifying tribe-like creatures I'm talking about are the Ing. In the birth of the planet Dark Aether, these were the inhabitants. These creatures almost wiped out the Luminoth, the inhabitants of Aether, until the intervention of Samus. There are many forms of Ing, each serving their own purpose. There's the Blade Pod, Ing Wormcatch, and Ing Spherecatch, which are the storage units of their species, and Flying Ing Catch is a floating storage unit used to hold more important items. There's also the Ing Web Trap, a creature that's used to block doors, and many more. There are also a variety of soldier class Ings, namely the Warrior Ing, which are the basic soldiers of the Horde, which look arachnid in nature with 5 sharp limbs. There's also Hunter Ing, that are the elite of the Ing army. These Ing are the second most powerful in the Horde. Rather than 5 limbs, Hunters have 4 tentacles that intertwine like a mass of wires around a central eye. The most terrifying of them all, however, is the Emperor Ing, a gargantuan creature with 3 phases. The first is similar to an Inglet in design, with hunter-like tentacles, just bigger. a lot bigger. In the second phase, the Emperor cocoons itself in a magnetically charged shell reminiscent of an ink-claw. This ball expels poison gas, forcing Samus to scale this nightmare to destroy the vents. The final phase is when this behemoth emerges from its second phase's confines. Its orange, luminescent heart becomes unstable and thus is exposed. However, the extreme mutations has given this monster far more mobility. This final form takes on an appearance reminiscent of a warrior ink, very arachnid in design. I've chosen the Emperor over the other Ings as it encapsulates the most terrifying features of its brethren, but on another level completely. The design and ideas behind this monster is noteworthy to say the least. Metroids obviously play a big part in the Metroid games, that's a given. However, there are various forms that each game focuses on. There's the Alpha Metroid, a more developed form of the original Metroid. Then there's the Gamma Metroid, which is the developed Alpha Metroid, which appears to be a more insect-like form, posing more of a threat. Then there's the Zeta Metroid, which forms by shedding its Gamma Metroid skin. This is a more bipedal form, with a leech-like mouth. This is followed by the Omega Metroid, a more grown form which stands roughly twice the height of a human. However, some Metroids are genetically coded specially to move on from this form, and the last step is terrifying. The final form stands out from the rest, and it's called the Queen Metroid. This behemoth of a monster stands about 6 meters in height and 11 meters in length. This giant completely dwarfs Samus as she struggles to hurt the thing. The creature falls into a more quadruped posture, with a large maw for attacks, which contains 3 rows of teeth. And trust me, from experience, 1 row is enough to get the job done. I can't imagine the destruction 3 can cause. Much like an insect colony, the Queen is responsible for birthing the entire species, which shows how unique and terrifying this creature is. Due to this thing walking around on all fours, the only way to truly hurt it is from within. Something I wouldn't want to do myself. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's list, and if you did, leave a like. And like I mentioned earlier, what do you think number 1 should be? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you're itching for more terrifying creatures, click here for my top 13 scariest monsters in the Silent Hill series. Or if you want something a little more lighthearted, click here for my top 10 strangest video game spin-offs.